You know, folks, fishing those drop-offs under those bridges are very productive. In fact, they can be productive spots year-long, or most of the year. And the reason why is shad will migrate the edges of those bridges year-long. And the reason why is because it's a funnel area. It's usually a bridge or bridges on the Tennessee River are restricted in length, and you have a big body of water on both sides of the bridge. And if they're pulling any water at the dam or generating electricity, what happens, that water flow will cause shad to congregate up under those bridges and run those drop-offs, and that's why it's such a productive area. Now let's talk about little bitty baits that's less than 2 inches, and in this case it was a 1.5 inch bait, but I have downsized to 1 inch baits. And the reason I do that, if you have a lot of pressure or a lot of boat traffic that particular day that you're fishing, those little baits, believe it or not, will cause crappie to bite anyway. They'll bite them a lot quicker than they will the 2 inch baits. Now this should be written in the book of crappie, because I know it not to be an opinion but a fact. There he is. My goodness. That fish is pulling, folks. Pretty good crappie. Nothing wrong with that right there. The reason why is because that right there, okay, is what we're after. Let's flip him in the boat right here. That's a good one. That's a doggone good fish right there. Good enough to put into the bucket. Okay. Beautiful day this day or morning. And that's exactly right there is what I caught him on. And we'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that. That's a good eating size crappie. Let's put him in a bucket. First one of the morning. Woo. I actually caught a crappie fish. I love to catch the crappie fish under noisy bridges. Oh no, the adrenaline is already starting. Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard's Eating the Fishing Machine right here. That's probably about an 11 inch crappie. Good eating size. We're out to catch a few fish this morning. Excuse the noise. I'm right here where there's a lot of traffic going over this bridge. And for years, I just about quit bridge fishing. Just about it. But this time of the year, it's very, very productive. There's a lot of fish getting in and around these bridges. Now, that particular fish right there was probably about 12 feet deep, right on the break line. I'm still fishing drop-offs. The fish are relating to drop-offs right now simply because the shad are traveling right on the edge of the drop-off just before it falls off into the deeper water up under a lot of these bridges. And I caught that fish on a brush pile jig. That's an 1.5 inch brush pile jig. I've been catching a lot of fish on that simple little jig right there. And it's nothing more. It has a little wiggly tail right there, and that's it. It's blue and chartreuse, a combination of, which is always a great color, very visible, especially in water clarity like this. And it's called the Brush Bandit Glow Blue. Okay, it's an 1.5 inch long bait, and I'm gonna tell you, we've been having a lot of fishing pressure on this lake here lately, and we've had a couple of fronts that's come through. When situations are like this as far as weather conditions, and also just a lot of boats on the water traffic and stuff like that, I will go down to a smaller jig to make sure that I catch crappie. Very, very important, in my opinion, to do that. You know, be a little bit different. The traditional size or traditional length of a crappie jig is going to be 2 inches, like the Bobby Garlands. But if you want to consistently catch crappie as finicky as they can be in some of these highly pressured lakes, go down to a smaller jig. And I've been saying that for years, and you can definitely start catching crappie again. That's just the fact of the matter. Now I'm using 8-pound test braid. It's high-vis braid tied with a uni knot right there. That's it. Now this is a crappie magnet jig head, which I bought at Cabela's the other day. I never have used this particular jig head just with a jig fishing this way, but I like the way the hook looked. That's a size 6 hook, very small in diameter and very, very sharp. So that's the reason why I bought a couple packs in bulk packs, I think 50 to a pack. Now, we've talked about this a lot of different times, folks. Crappie are definitely not line shy. So that's, usually I use mono when it comes to vertical jigging or casting for crappie with these small jigs. However, I've been getting a lot of questions about, can't crappie see it? Don't that keep you from catching as many and all that? And my response to that is definitely no. Crappie are not line shy, and I've mentioned that a lot of times for years on this channel. And I have demonstrated it many a time by using high-vis mono in gin clear water, where you can see 10 or 12 feet deep. And crappie are definitely not line shy, so that's why I've tied direct to this high-vis braid to demonstrate that once again. They don't care. There's just something about a crappie when it comes to line, even though they can be finicky about biting a lure, when it comes to line, it doesn't matter, folks. Now I'm using a 2000 size Johnny Morris reel loaded with 8-pound braid and a 6.5 foot light action rod, and that's what I'm doing right now. And like I said, I caught that fish approximately 12 feet deep. And let's just get back in there and see if we can catch a few more. If we can't, we'll move bridges. Right now, the bridge bite is pretty good. It's starting to pick up anyway. Let's see if we can catch another one. Okay, let's ease up here. And by the way, this is a 1/32 of an ounce head right here. I failed to mention that, but let's look at the water temp. The surface temperature is at 71 degrees. 71 degrees, folks. Now, it hadn't been that cold. It's been ranging anywhere from 76, 75 degrees, even 77 degrees. That's been the range. And what happened is, a couple of days ago, we had a front come in from Canada, and actually it's cold this morning. It's about 53 degrees this morning. This is as cold as it's been. 53 degrees. Let's make another cast right there on that brake line. And I'm not dressed for it, or I'm not used to it. Now, I'm a southern boy. 53 degrees is cold, especially in the shade. It is. I'm not used to it. But it sure feels good, if that makes any sense. But yeah, we're fishing right on the edge of the drop-off right here before it falls off. And that's where that fish was at. Now, I caught him just by steadily reeling, just like I'm doing right now. And there's another fish. See how that works? Now, I knew that jig was at 12 feet deep. I know that. That's a good fish right here. Look here, what a fish. Let me see if he's hooked good. I think he is. I believe we can flip him in. That's a good one right there. That's about a 13-inch fish right there. But once that jig gets to around 12 feet, on both of those fish, that's a good fish right there. Golly, I done said that, but woo, I love it. Crappie fishing is definitely a sport separated from any other species, if that makes sense. These fish right here are something else. They're hard to keep up with, but that one right there is big enough to fillet. Let's put him in the bucket right here along with this other one. See, he's a lot bigger than that other one. But 12 feet deep is definitely where they're at. Now what I do is I count down about, this jig right here, being that it's a 1/32 of an ounce, falls about a foot a second, about. Braid floats, so I'm sure it slows the fall rate down a little bit. But now I do have some sinking braid. Now this is just regular braid right here. I forget the name of it, but it's floating on top of the water. That slows the sink rate down just a little bit, but it's approximately a foot a second. So when I get to that depth, I'm just reeling it back real slow, and I just missed another fish. Well, not another one. That's the first fish that I missed. But those fish, we'll see if we can get another bite right here. I got that jig back down there around 12 feet deep, but I may be out of the fish. Now I'm down there around 12 feet deep, bringing it back through those fish again. Okay. And I didn't get a bite. So what does that mean? I didn't get a bite. Oh my goodness. That means I didn't get a bite on that cast. So I'm going to make another one. That's exactly what that means. Let's make another cast. There he is. There's another one, folks. God, that fish come to the surface quick. Now, I wasn't putting that much pressure on him. He just decided to come to the surface. He don't like what's in his mouth right there. Let's flip him in here. That's a keeper. The last couple of times I've been, they don't seem to be running too big up under these bridges. Every once in a while I'll catch a really good fish, and the reason for that is usually, generally speaking, these fish, you'll catch more quality when the water temperature falls to around and stays around 50 to 55 degrees, in my opinion. There we go. We're getting some lunch. We're getting some victuals. That's what we're doing. Slow and easy. At that depth, it is slow and easy to maintain that 12 foot, which is pretty deep to be fishing a 1/32 of an ounce. But the reason I do that is so I can reel it very, very slow and keep that offering in front of that crappie's face a longer period of a time, much longer period of time. That's the key, I think, to catching crappie. That's one of the things about crappie fishing you have to do. You can't stick with one particular way, one particular depth. You can't go by that. These fish move up and down, the water column. In other words, they'll come up towards the top, sometimes within 4 or 5 feet from the bottom, and sometimes they'll just be a foot or two from the bottom. It just depends. These fish are something else. And that's the kind of things you have to figure out when you're crappie fishing. And of course, color. Color is a big deal. Blue and chartreuse has always been a good color for a crappie jig or a crankbait fishing for bass. It's just a very visible color in just about any clarity of water. There's another one. Same place. This fish is good fish right here. Stay button, boy. Let me see how he's hooked, folks. We may have to net him. I'm going to try to flip him. There we go. That fish was barely hooked. Look at there. I just gambled and won, but most of the time you don't need to gamble. You can gamble and lose. But let's put that one in the bucket. I'm tired of walking back here to the bucket. Let's just put the bucket right there. What about that? There we go. We're mounting a few up. I believe that's 5. I don't need many. Not today. Now these fish are finicky. So I'm doing exactly what I should. Little bitty bait. And fishing very slow. Keeping that jig in front of their face just as long as I can. This little front right here kind of made them a little bit. I don't think they're biting too good today, to be honest with you. And all I'm doing, if you'll notice, I'm holding that jig in front of their face right now, barely moving it, letting the jig fall to me, allowing the weight of the jig head to cause that jig to fall to me. I'm not overworking it. You can overwork a jig and not catch fish or crappie. There's no hurry out here, and they're a lazy fish most of the time. Not all the time. Now, sometimes they can be very aggressive, but most of the time they're lazy. There he is. Talking about another one, and there he is. Let's flip him in here. Golly, them just right to eat. 9.5, 10 inches long. Perfect size. All right, folks. That's what I kept right there, just 6 crappie. That's enough to feed me and Mama Sue. I probably caught about 10 or 12 others that I let go because they was really way too small. A couple of them I just threw back just because that's about all the fish I want right here. But the fish did cooperate today, even though it was a bad front that come in last night. All right, folks, I met some folks out here on the water, and this is impressive to me. This is what it's about when it comes to fishing. We got a granddaddy out here with his grandson teaching him to fish. And I'm going to say this, he's done a good job doing it. Let me tell you, I want y'all to look. Luke Cleveland. I want you to look what a bass right here. That is a good one. That's what it's all about, folks, right there. That's a good fish right there. What did he weigh?
Well, the battery's a bit dead, we don't, a couple pounds maybe.
I'd say close to 3 pounds.
Would.
I would. 2 3/4, 3 pounds. Well, that's a good fish. And that's what you're supposed to do right there, folks.
Well, I love him to death. He's just...
Take these kids fishing, get them off the computer, get them off of them old games, and take them fishing.
Yeah, he's got to go back to school tomorrow, so this was our last chance. We're going to start deer hunting.
That's the way to do it. That's the way I was raised.
Yeah,
Same
we're
way.
gonna start deer hunting this next week.
And you believe in big feet too. I got me a big
Oh
feet.
yeah, I've seen him 3 or 4 times.
Well, we'll see y'all later.
All right, nice to meet you.
All right, you too.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say God bless each and every one of you. Keep the left foot going in front of the right foot, but keep the right foot in front. I want to say God bless y'all. Hey man, woo. I'm talking about woo. And remember, go fishing when you can, because it's good for